everyone. We're excited to see you again today, and we are really trying to provide you some great free resources in your job quest. We know that you may either be finding yourselves that you need a new job, or you may be in your current job thinking, hey, I might need to look. And I know some of you maybe haven't done this in a while, so we want to give you some resources. So to that end, we are bringing back a friend of ours. Her name is Natalie Phillips, and she has worked with us in the past, and she's a talent acquisition expert. And so we're bringing her back to talk about phone screens and video interviews, because how you are projecting yourself in either a phone screen or a video interview will make the difference whether or not you get passed on to the next round of an interview. It's really critical. So Natalie, why don't you introduce yourself to us, let us know a little bit about yourself, and then we'll start.
Thank you, Cindy. Well, I am happy to be back here again, and I have been in technology and talent acquisition for about 25 years. I have had the pleasure of working with you and your company in the past, and am looking forward to trying to help out here today.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about a phone screen first, because these days, phone screens are how big companies and small companies kind of get people past those first round of interviews. So tell us a couple of things that would be important for a phone screen, and then we'll talk about a video screen after that and how it's a little bit different. So tell me the most important things for me to do to project myself well in a phone screen.
Sure. You know, I think phone screens are sometimes harder than face-to-face, because you really can't get your personality across. It's, almost even a little awkward sometimes. So I think the important things are make sure you select a time that works for you. And so what I mean by that is, not just, an open space on your calendar, but a time that you're going to be somewhere. You're not going to be walking, you're not going to be driving, you're going to be somewhere where you can really devote your attention to the phone screen. And so it's got to be quiet, it's got to be distraction free, and you have to have a good phone signal as well. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and haven't been able to hear them, or there have been dogs barking, or there have been, life happens. But if you can, really try and get to a place where it's quiet and you can really focus on that interview.
Let me ask you a question about that. So how important is it when the screener calls to set up that interview, or sends that email or text to say, hey, I'd like to do a phone screen? Let's talk about that responsiveness of the candidate in whether or not that's a first impression. Can you?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So that's actually a really great question. There used to be a stigma, I think, that you didn't want to respond right away because you didn't want to seem too eager. I totally disagree with that. I think time is of the essence. And, in the world of talent acquisition, your job is to get great candidates in front of your clients. And so doing it quickly, is helpful. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean that if the job posting's been out there a day or two that you shouldn't apply. It's just, the sooner you can get your information in front of a recruiter, the better it is.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we find that sometimes we get a candidate that'll say, yes, I want to talk to you, but my schedule's a little busy and I can't talk to you for 3 or 4 days. Well, by then we have found another candidate.
Exactly.
So you need to make yourself available, as well as, that you're creating a first impression when you make a phone appointment with one of our recruiters, or even if you're going directly to the company, and then you cancel it twice and you move it because of other things, and then you're not
or don't
prompt.
Show. Right. Or don't show. That's another one. Yeah.
Again, that's really showing me as a hiring person how well you're going to do, not as a candidate, but as an employee.
Right.
So I may not choose to hire you because of how you've handled yourself in even just scheduling the phone screen.
Exactly.
So that's important. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how you present yourself on that phone call. Are you very formal, or are you trying to feeling like it's a phone call with your friend?
No, it's an interview. I mean, you need to treat it as if you were sitting in front of the person. So I think it's important to do your homework. So if you do know the name of the hiring company, You should do research. You should look them up on LinkedIn. You should, do as even if it's with an agency, you should look up the person on LinkedIn, see their background, see, if you have any common, connections. So you do need to treat it as if it's a face-to-face and be as prepared as you can. Definitely, in the more formal aspect of that.
Yeah. And let's talk about sharing personal information. So I come into the phone screen and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I've had a tough day. I've taken my two kids to school. Remember when we used to do that, take our kids to school? But I've taken my two kids to school, and then I got in a car accident, and then I had to bring a meal to my mom, who's is not able to get out of her house. And is that the kind of stuff we should be talking about to these recruiters we've never met before?
I'm thinking, no, it's not. Again, this is an interview, and so sometimes we have to compartmentalize things, and kind of, say, I apologize for being a few minutes late, and then start the interview. So yeah, I mean, keep it professional. I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, one of the big feedback we get from our clients is they're sharing too much personal information.
Right.
So make sure that you are only sharing information that is critical for your interview. That doesn't mean that you have to be stoic, and if they ask you a question about how's your family, to not answer, right? But know that oversharing is a real deal killer in interviewing, especially over the phone, because you feel a little bit more comfortable, like maybe I'm talking to a friend, but you're not. You're talking to a potential employer, and that is a totally different situation. Okay, let's switch to a video call now. What is different about a video call? And we're doing a lot of videos right now, right? But what is different about it, and what needs to look differently?
So obviously on a phone interview, I could be in my PJs right now talking to you, but, for a phone interview, again, being in professional attire, and if obviously if you're a woman, makeup, hair, I mean, you don't have to go out on a date, but obviously looking professional. And then your environment, your background, your what's behind you. Obviously, if you can keep it to a minimum is great. And I understand that not everyone has the opportunity to have a separate office, but that's okay. Just go to put a chair in your bedroom, and talk in there. Just have it be quiet and in a professional space. And then obviously, your attire and your presentation are super important on a video call.
Yeah, and I think you and I both experienced times where actually the people that were on video calls doing interviews with us were driving, where they were in the front seat of their car with their seatbelts on. And I mean, it's unbelievable that these things actually happen, but they do. So we just need to be careful about that, because these are interviews. And then let's talk about the end of the call. So how do we wind up that call? How do we make sure that we seal the deal and don't sound too salesy and those kind of things? How do we make sure that we put our best foot forward at the very end?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, this is, right now it's almost a replacement for a face-to-face, right? So these video calls are real interviews. And so closing your interview, it's totally appropriate to say, I'm looking forward to the next steps. Can you tell me, what the process looks like? And those are things that candidates are totally, it's okay to ask those questions. You're anxious to find a new job. They're anxious to find people. And so in a professional way, it is totally say, I'm super excited about this opportunity. I look forward to hearing back from you on next steps.
That's awesome. And one thing I just forgot that I think is really important is, even on a video call or on a phone screening call, it's really important to make sure that you have a great question to ask about their company. Because sometimes it's really important to let them know that you've done your research, and so that you have a good question. Now, they might not give you an opportunity to ask it, and if that happens, that's okay. But if you have an opportunity, if they say, do you have any questions for me? You need to have a question that's not just like, well, why would I like this job? Right? That's not like a researched question. It's more, oh, I see that you are in the healthcare field, and I see that, this is usually a challenge, and your website says that you're in 6 locations. Tell me why you decided to do this, right? So you're creating great questions, showing that you care enough to have done that research that Natalie had talked about earlier. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think going ahead and doing that homework on, again, who you're interviewing with and with the company and the position. And what I always like to do is I look at the job description and I look at my background and I jot down notes, right? And so here are some examples of times and places that I've done these things or how I've done them. And, be prepared. I mean, I think that's something that it's too easy to kind of forget when you're on a phone interview or even a video interview. It's just be prepared, have those notes in front of you, have examples of times that you've done those things, have a list of questions, like you said, ask about, why is the position open? There are a ton of great questions and a ton of great resources online to find out, just questions to ask during your interview, but be specific about the company and the position as well.
That's awesome. Thanks, Natalie, for your help today. We really appreciate it. We know that those great points that you brought up are going to help the people that are listening today. So thank you. And just to let you know that a lot of these points are on our website at innovative-outsourcing.com. So you'll be able to find those there. They're just some tips and tricks. And so you'll be able to find that. As well as we're doing some paid help for you in addition to these free video webinars so that we can help you if you have somebody that you want to have review resumes or review your LinkedIn profile, or even talk to one of our long-term HR experts to talk about some career counseling. Like, maybe I don't want to stay in the field that I'm in, and what do I do about that now? So all of those are options for you. We want to help you in any possible way that we can. So you guys have a great day, and thanks again, Natalie, for your time.
Thanks for having me, Cindy.